Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Montoya, the Farms Leadership Coordinator for the Sacramento Valley and San Joaquin region. Welcoming you today to a double-header event. It's the leadership lesson featuring Francisco Castillo of Union Pacific Railroad, as well as, and we'll be following this up with a Farms Field Day featuring a couple representatives from Sierra Pacific Industries. So I want to first introduce our leadership lesson host, Francisco Castillo. He is the senior community relations manager for Union Pacific. Sorry.
You almost senior director of public affairs for
Senior
UP.
Director of Public Affairs. Yes.
Close enough.
So we're going to have Francisco give us a little bit about his background, how he came to be a professional in his industry, and what lessons he may be able to share with you that may help you with your journey in figuring out where you want to go. So with that, go ahead and introduce yourself, Francisco, and let me go ahead and pull up your PowerPoint so that we can go ahead and get started. All right, is everyone seeing that?
Yes.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, let me know when you're ready. I figured I'm so excited to be you guys' guest speaker today. My role at Union Pacific Railroad, just really quick, and I'll go into, what I want to talk to you guys about really today is a little bit about UP, but also what are the paths that I took to kind of get to where I am today, and two key points and takeaways that I want you guys to go away with in this presentation, which is the importance of developing your personal brand, and also the importance of building your network. But I'll kind of weave in my stories as I go through this PowerPoint. But at UP, why don't we go to the first slide?
Oh, sorry, I messed it up straight off the gate. I introduced you, the guest, before I introduced any of our students and teachers that are here.
All right, why don't we go, let's take a step back and love to meet the students and the teachers that are on.
Cool. So what we're looking for, students, is just your name, your grade, your high school, post-education plans, and shaking it up a little bit this time, what is something you're looking forward to doing, or what are some of your plans for this post-COVID world once we get sort of back to normal? And then same thing for you, Francisco, once we wrap up with the students. So let's go ahead and start with Michelle, and then you can go and choose who you want to go after you.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm a senior at Health Careers Academy, and I'm in 12th grade. And my post-secondary plans are to go to community college here at San Joaquin Delta College. And then also something I look forward after the pandemic is going to the hospitals to volunteer.
Excellent.
And I'm gonna pick Jenna.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I go to Durham Ferry, and I'm a junior in Durham Ferry. So my post-high school plans, I'm not sure yet. And what I'm looking forward to after COVID is going to the movie theater. Next on my list is Emily.
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm a Historic Durham Ferry High School senior. Are we doing after high school or after college plans?
High school.
After high school, okay. I am planning.
Let's do college too.
Okay. After high school, I'm planning on going to MJC and then transferring around and hopefully ending up at UC Davis to get a degree in veterinary medicine. So then I can hopefully become a veterinarian after college. And then after COVID's finished out, I'm hoping that I'll be able to see my friends again, like my non-school friends that I can't see right now.
It's good.
Oh, and the next person will go Edgar.
So my name is Edgar. I'm a junior at Grant Union High School. After high school, I'm looking into either going to community college or straight into a UC. And after college, hopefully land some sort of good job in the engineering field. And something after COVID I would like to do is I'm really ready to like go to the theaters and watch all those good movies that were supposed to come out last summer. Since they didn't come out last summer, they're supposed to be coming out this summer.
Right. Thank you, Edgar.
And I'm supposed to pass it on to someone, right?
Yes.
I'm just working this on my phone, so it's taking a while. Can I pass it on to Owen?
I am a sophomore at Historic Durham Ferry. Not exactly what not sure what I'm gonna do after high school yet. Plan on going to university, but what I'm gonna be going there for is still kind of up in the air. And then just after COVID, just being able to see friends and like go out to eat with them. And then I'll pass it to find someone. Did Michelle already go? Yeah, okay.
Excellent. Let's see.
Did Jenna go? No, she didn't.
Did Jada go? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
No, I didn't.
Gotcha.
Okay, so hi, I'm Jada. I'm a junior at Historic Durham Ferry, and then my plans after high school, I haven't had it like set what I wanted to do after, but after COVID, I just want to do literally anything like that shut down. I can't really see because I'm on my phone. I can't see like the people in here.
I think Rihanna hasn't gone yet.
Oh dear. Hello, my name is Rihanna. I'm in Luther Burbank High School. I'm a junior. And after high school, I'm unsure what I'm gonna do. It's like unknown or something. That's pretty much it, I think.
Excellent. Thank you. You know what? How about we have Irene go, just because.
Hi, everybody. My name's Irene. I'm the Senior Development Officer with CLBL here in Woodland. And I've been doing nonprofit work since I graduated from college back in 2000, which might be before some of you were born. And yeah, I'm just happy to be on. I am very excited for theaters after COVID. So I'm going to echo that from a couple of other people who've gone. Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll wrap up with Michael.
Sorry to hit the button there. I am Michael Cook. I teach with several partnership academies. Right now, this is for our Geo Academy. I can't think of, I don't know, we're going to do some traveling this summer and beyond. So really just getting out into the world a little bit more, I think is kind of what I'm looking forward to.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. Sorry about the hold up, Francisco. Go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, what I want to do when the pandemic is over is I want to go to theaters too. So I echo some of you who say you want to go to the movies. I haven't been to a movie in a long time, to the movie theaters. So, all right. Well, did a quick intro of myself, Senior Director of Public Affairs for Union Pacific Railroad. I've been with the company for about six years now. I started off doing media relations with Union Pacific, and I'll go into what the company is in the second slide. But my role as media director when I first started with UP was to be responsible for being the spokesperson for the company out in the community in 8 states, right? California being one of those biggest states. So if you can imagine, it's a freight railroad. We move different commodities, being the spokesperson whenever there's a derailment, an accident, something occurs on our tracks. I'm the one that was out there talking to the media, to TV, print, radio, just to give updates on the company. So that was my first role at UP. And then I moved over to public affairs, which is what I do now. And that role entails me working with local communities, key stakeholders like CLBL and local officials, and also being able to work with our elected officials at the statewide level to make sure that there are no bills or legislations that are being considered that will directly impact the railroad, right? So my job is to protect the railroad and develop a legislative strategy so that we help mitigate some of those concerns at the statewide level. So, and then the fun stuff is being able to give out grants to nonprofits like CLBL and others, and develop our community budget, attending events representing the company, and so much more. But that pretty much encompasses my role as Senior Director of Public Affairs. And that position is primarily for California and the state of Nevada. So I want to go to the next slide and we can talk a little bit about UP. So Union Pacific, if you guys are not familiar with it, is a freight railroad. And what that means is, so first we operate in 23 states, and you'll see this map, that are mainly west of the Mississippi River. And we serve or run, the trains run through more than 7,000 communities across the country. And, you know, as the saying goes, we're a 32,000 mile factory without a roof. So if you can imagine in your heads, many corporations and organizations work, you know, at a headquarters, for example. And there are those that have headquarters, but also have thousands of employees that work out in the field doing different kinds of jobs, right? Whether you're driving a train, you're maintaining the right of way, which is our property. You're doing safety inspections as an engineer, designing bridges, track, all those kinds of positions are out on our 32,000 mile factory without a roof, which is like what we like to say. And that means that, you know, our employees work, you know, through blizzards and floods and tornadoes and hurricanes, which are all part of our life at the railroad. And I think something to consider as we kind of go through this discussion is, you know, what would make me interested in wanting to work for the railroad? Not just the different variety of jobs that exist, but also freight railroad employees are among the country's most highly compensated workers, right? Without a college degree. I'm not promoting that you guys don't go to college and get a college degree, but, you know, the California railroad employees can earn an average salary of over $70,000. And then when you include benefits, it equates to about $123,000, which is a pretty good salary without a college degree. Now you can imagine if you do have a degree, right, engineering, any other degree that would apply, that salary can go up significantly. So I encourage you guys to kind of stay the track and go to college. Let's go to the next slide. So think about this for a minute. When you woke up this morning and turned on the lights, the electricity you used probably came from coal or wind turbines that moved on one of our trains. And before you use your computer or television to get the news this morning or watch your favorite show, it probably moved on a train before you actually arrived to your house. And same with any automobiles, right? If you have a car that you own and you drive it to the store or places you go, the likelihood of it coming on a train is very high. We move a lot of automobiles throughout the country, even to the food that you ate for lunch, most likely was on a train before it was on a table. So this picture right here really encompasses the different commodities, and commodities are the different things that we move on the railroad that, you know, we use on our everyday lives. Agriculture, which is one of you guys' focus, is a huge partner of ours. We have many customers that have farms, and we moved a lot of their materials and fruits and vegetables out to its final destination so it can be sold and so forth. So that's Union Pacific and kind of what we move and our trains. Want to go to the next slide. So really quick, I get asked a lot, well, how did you get to where you are today? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about UP, but also about my own personal career path and what I found was helpful for me, right? So take a second, you'll see this image here. Take a second in your head to ask yourself this question, right? It's your 100th birthday and you're being celebrated for the work that you do in the community. What do you want your guest speakers to say about you and what impact do you want to have in the community, right? So as you think about what path you want to take in whatever career path you decide to move forward, keep that in mind that in a few years from now, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, you're gonna have people that are gonna be speaking about your legacy and the things that you did in the community, but also the career path that you decided to take will have a huge impact on that, right? And so for me, when it came to building my own personal brand, and I'm still developing my personal brand, it's all these little circles that encompass that, right? It's self-awareness, self-knowledge, identity. And I'll talk a little bit about just some of these in a minute. Your potential, the quality of life that you lived or that you want to live. What are some of your dreams that you have? Aspirations that you currently have now that you want to eventually work towards, right? So the process of personal branding involves finding your uniqueness, right? Building a reputation on the things that you want to be known for, and then allowing yourself to be known for them, which I think is very important as you kind of start thinking about your brand. So for me, for example, I was raised in the Mission District, in San Francisco, by a single mother who, it was a struggle in the Mission during that time. A lot of Latino families lived there, a lot of single parents, a lot of gangs. I had to take the school bus pretty far away to go to school in Bayview Hunters Point, which is about 20 minutes away from where I actually, or 30 minutes away from where I actually lived, in San Francisco terms. And then what made it even more challenging for me growing up as a student was those perceptions and stereotypes that people directed at me, right? So if you can imagine, I'm raised by a single parent mother living in the Mission District, surrounded by gangs. So what did they think that I was going to be, right? The perception was, oh, Francisco's not going to make it. Francisco's going to fail. He's going to be a statistic. There are many young Latinos during that time that experienced that. And then that made me work twice as hard, right? It made me work twice as hard to kind of continue to move on. And at the end of the day, and one experience I recall is my senior counselor. She said to me, career counselor said to me as I was applying to colleges, and I'm not sure if any of you have experienced this, but she said to me, don't apply to UC Berkeley. You're not going to get in. And I was like, whoa, and it was because of that perception that they had about me living in the Mission District. I imagine, now that I think about it, that people were like, he's not going to make it. So right now, I think during a time with so much focus on diversity and inclusion, I think it's important for all of us, the students, the teachers, our mentors, to embrace our identity at our adversity and our diversity, right? And only then can people know who you are as an individual. So make space for vulnerability. Vulnerability is an opportunity, and your background and experiences will bring a different perspective to everything that you do. And as I go through my story now, think about, with that in mind, my experiences that I went through when I was younger reflect the work that I do now at Union Pacific, the organizations that we support at UP in my region, and so forth. And so just, I think it's important to keep that in mind as we kind of talk through this. So personal brand leads to the next slide. So here it's, find your uniqueness so you can exploit it in the service of others, right? Everything that you've experienced in your past are clues for who you were created to be. So what makes you truly unique? I think you need to ask yourself that as you kind of go through high school, you graduate, you go to college. What makes you truly unique and different than your colleagues? What are you called to do in the future, right? Do you want to be known for helping working families in your community? Do you want to work for a nonprofit? Do you want to go into ag? Do you want to go into transportation? I don't think those are decisions that are going to be clear now, but have a sense as to what kind of engagement you want to be. And I think you all taking the initiative to be a part of a program like CLBL, right, is already providing you some guidance and some like light and insight as to what you could potentially be. So even though all of you may not necessarily go into ag, but you're in the process of creating your own personal brand, that may spark an interest into doing something else, and that's okay. Because I don't think it's necessarily about the industry that you're working in now, right? But it's about the skill sets that you learn by going through a program like this are going to help you and make you a better person and help you professionally and politically, right? So for me, my personal brand is not necessarily that I work for Union Pacific. I love Union Pacific and I love the work that I do, right? But when it comes to, for me, is how do I show my kids who are in this picture the importance of volunteering, right? And you volunteer for a nonprofit organization that serves the underserved in our community, right? That's what I want them to start understanding as well, right? The other one is me volunteering on the right for Yolo County Children's Alliance food distribution, right? And the upper picture is, representing Union Pacific for an event that we did. And then the far right top is just recently, I had the honor of being recognized in Sacramento Magazine as Sacramento 100, which I had no idea until I got called about that, right? But all that happened not because I worked for Union Pacific. I think I leveraged Union Pacific as a resource to help build my brand, or as I'm still doing now. But also everything in my experiences that I went through were accumulation of kind of being recognized for the work that I do in the community, right? So I think it's important as you, again, building your personal brand is key. Next slide. So the other point is, so one, building your personal brand, and two is build your network, right? An avenue to exchange ideas. I think these are some points that I want to share with you guys as to why that's important, why it's important to build your own personal network. You can never tell how much you know without listening to other people, right? So you learn something from their experiences that you may not have gathered before that can spark an interest in you. It may spark an interest in starting a new program, right? So the more you meet people, get to know them on a personal level so that you can, can become an avenue to exchanging ideas based on your relationships that you build. Number two, it makes you noticeable. So individuals that seek publicity, for example, either for business, politics, or even fame, for that matter, they leverage more on networking, right? So people quickly notice others that have stronger capabilities to make them relevant. And then when you stand out in both your expertise and the services you offer, it creates room for partnerships, which in turn builds a career. And so I think that's important, I think, for you to consider as you kind of build your network. The other one is avenue for new opportunities, right? Everyone, I think this is a very important one, that when people start noticing you, then it opens the door for newer opportunities. And businesses and career-minded individuals who have networked over time have been able to expand with minimal effort because of the avenue of new opportunities that are open to them through networking. And so as you build your network, whether it's on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Snapchat nowadays, right? Think about the content that you want to put on those pages, right? Because there's people that are watching that you don't think they are, but they are. Think about the content that you're putting on those, because that's going to help define who you are as you build your personal brand, but also attract people to want to be associated with you, and oftentimes because of the work that you're doing, for example, out in the community, right? And that's all part of kind of avenue for new opportunities that'll lead to avenue for new opportunities as you just explore those. And then the other one, support from high profile individuals. I think, that right there is everybody has one way or the other, passed through some hurdles in their career development. And I certainly have, and I'm sure you all will have many hurdles that you will go through, right? And this can be, a result of many things, of materials that are available, the lack of financial aid, but I think having a good network with high profile individuals from the same career path as you, or not, or different career path, will be a benefit, I think, as you kind of build your brand and build your network. And these, you can call on these people for support, right? It's always, there's a saying that they say that says, be nice to people on the way up, because you never know when you're going to need them on the way down, right? So we can have so many friends in high places, and we can be very mean to them, but at the same time, when you are losing your job, for example, guess who you're not going to reach out to? The same people that you were being mean to, because you'll need their support when you're on the way downs, right? So just kind of keep that in mind as well. And then the last one for this slide is develop long-lasting relationships. I think I put a note on there that says, don't be transactional. A lot of times we forget, and I often do too. I'm not going to say that my network, building my network, has been perfect, but there's times when the relationships can be transactional, right? You just reach out to somebody when you need something, and that doesn't help with helping to build your network, because then it's not authentic. It's more like you just want to reach out to them, when every time you need something, because of the position that they hold, for example. But get to know somebody for who they are and their interests when you actually start building that network, and that will help build your career in the long term. Through the networking might not be an easy and as fast approach to build long-lasting relationships, but when you get to know them at a personal level, it definitely goes a long way for your own personal growth, but also your own professional growth. So we can go to the next slide then.
Right. One last thing. You mentioned something about, you're building your network. And what I've heard is that you are your success will equate to the average of your 5 or 10 closest friends or something like that. Have you heard that one?
I have not, but there's different kind of ideas to kind of building a network and different strategies. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's, that's definitely a good rule of thumb too, to keep it in mind as well.
Yeah. So I think, regardless of industry, having people close to you that, have similar aspirational goals that, you can continue to learn from, network with, bounce ideas off of, and, create that sort of, I don't know necessarily the word family, but network that you can stay in contact with that, can help pick you up. Like if you fall down, just that sort of rock to lean on just in case, things just aren't going right and you need some help. And as you mentioned, not being transactional, not going, when you need it, but, maintaining those relationships over the course of your professional career and personal, just life, is really important. So.
Absolutely. And I think that when I was growing up in high school, I had a mentor, and I think I have so many mentors throughout my career that I still try to keep in touch with, even if it's via text, right? Because you can get to where you are today, but don't forget where you came from. At the end of the day, there's a lot of people that helped me kind of get to where I am today. A lot of challenges along the way. It wasn't easy, but there's a lot of people that helped me, and I still have to remember that, right? And sometimes you get caught up in the moment and you forget about kind of where you came from and those people unintentionally. And I think you just have to constantly just take a pause, do a reality check, and say, oh, okay, I lived in a mission district. I was raised by a single mother. And that, I think, helps ground you, or ground me, to decide what issues and what nonprofits and what career path I want to take in the future. And so, and this slide, the reason I added this was because, I've had the pleasure of working for a lot of individuals. I worked for the governor, Governor Schwarzenegger, the First Lady, Maria Shriver. I worked for the Lieutenant Governor, Governor Newsom now. And, Governor Newsom, for example, The reason I have it, it's not about how many people you know, but how well you know them, right? So again, don't be transactional. So, I met Newsome back in 2002 when I was volunteering for his campaign for like 2 years when he first ran for mayor in San Francisco, right? And this is a good example of kind of keeping in touch with the people that helped you out. Throughout my career, Newsom was like the first person that gave me my first job out of college working for his press office in San Francisco for 2.5 years, right? And then that helped launch me to working for the governor, Governor Schwarzenegger, in 2006. But during that time, I still kept in touch with Newsom because of what I learned in his office and his staff. And that allowed me to go back to work for him on his campaign for lieutenant governor, right? Because you kind of build that trust and that relationship. And to this day, so I worked for the lieutenant governor and obviously now governor. Now we're for corporate, obviously, but I still keep in touch with the governor, right? But it's not transactional. It's just, hey, how are you doing? Or if there's a little message that comes on Facebook with a picture of him and my son, I'll send it over to him. He's like, hey, remember this? Just so he can kind of like remember, and you kind of humanize it a little bit more rather than just him feeling like I'm reaching out to him because I need something. And that's not necessarily the case all the time. So I think that's what I mean when it's not about how many people you know, but how well you know them, right? Even though I don't know Governor Schwarzenegger that well or Maria Shriver that well, I worked with them for 6 years, right? I'll still text Maria and say, how you doing? I like your post on Instagram, right? Just little things like that I think go a long way. And just network, go out to events, meet people outside of your industry. It's never too early. High school is like the perfect time to go out and volunteer in your community. And that has kind of gone a long way for me. And I just kind of want to leave you guys with this thought. Never let anyone hold you back. And you can go to the next slide. I'll take some questions in a minute, but never let anyone hold you back. I think in life, you're going to meet so many people. There's good people. There's really good people who will hopefully inspire you, drive you, lead you, and give you of themselves to help you in your education and in your life, right? Your career path, for that matter. But you're also going to meet people who make you question their motives. And the worst kind of people, however, can make you question yourself. And so never let another person diminish your worth or passion. That if someone criticizes you or otherwise makes you feel less than you are, pay them no mind, right? Like the high school counselor that told me that I was never going to get into UC Berkeley because I didn't have the grades that I needed at that time to get into UC Berkeley. So it was hard to kind of roll that off my shoulders. But at the end of the day, I kind of kept on moving and kept on staying the course. And of course, all this is much easier said than done when you confront people who are going to be really mean to you. But do your best to brush it off your shoulder, keep your head up, and remind yourself that you have what it takes to get where you want to go. And so that's my advice to you guys. Work on your personal brand, and ensure that as you develop that personal brand, you have opportunities to be able to build that network that's going to help you out throughout your career path. Friends, family, mentors, mentees, volunteers that you meet out in the community, and so many others throughout your career path. So, I think those are the thoughts that I wanted to share with you. I'd love to open it up for a discussion, get some questions from you all, and then, go from there.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you so much, Francisco. Are there any questions? I mean, I feel like, just so much was covered, just so much insight, so much career. Sorry for the truck backing up here, but just a lot there. It's kind of hard to, sort of compact so much knowledge, information, and experience into 30 minutes, but I feel like you knocked it out of the park. Let's see if any questions at all. I feel like I had a question, but I don't recall what it was. What was the main sort of drive that led you into why Union Pacific? Like, how did it get to that specifically?
So, you know, UP was not in the in my books in terms of like my career path, right? My background was communications and PR. So when I started working in local government for the mayor in San Francisco, I did communications. When I started working for the governor, I did communications. When I started working for the national nonprofit Students First, I did communications, right? So it was, I figured during that time that I had established a well-rounded portfolio of different sectors in the communications field, and that corporate was missing for me. And so if I wanted to have that well-rounded portfolio kind of completed, that corporate piece of the puzzle was missing, right? And so during that time, I was interviewing for Uber. Uber was hiring a strategic director of communications. I was, you know, interviewing for UP. They just happened to be transportation companies, right? But at that time, I didn't know much about UP. I actually went on LinkedIn, and I encourage all of you, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, to start building your LinkedIn profile today, because I think you can, even if you don't have much on there now, you can continue to add things as you go when you volunteer, and you can add that on there. But I had a LinkedIn profile and I saw that job posting and I applied because it was a media director position, right? And that was my background, media director. I had done media for quite some time. And so that definitely helped spark my interest in the position initially. And then when I got in and got the job, I learned more about the company, learned more about transportation issues, the importance of freight in the California US economy. And then I was like, oh man, this is a lot, this is bigger than I thought. You know, the UP's been around for like over 150 years. And then, you know, I moved over to public affairs after that because I knew I wanted to move away from media after being doing that for like 10 years. And I figured, you know, I got to do something different. I want to be out in the community. I want to help out nonprofits. I want to be able to establish partnerships. I don't know if you guys have done your strength finders. Um, strength finders is one of those exercises where it kind of shows you what some of those what are your biggest strengths, right? And for me, if you know strength finders, for me, harmony, communication, woo, includer, and maximizer are my strengths, right? Which means like bringing people together, consensus, hard to say no, but it's always don't like conflict. It's always about, you know, including others. And so bringing, you know, partnerships, that's my background. And then I've noticed that every job that I've had, I've actually been able to do that through, you know, communications. And then public affairs just kind of expand that role even further.
Excellent. One thing I would recommend to all the students here is go ahead and write down that or type down that LinkedIn address. You know, given that you're part of the farm's leadership family, now you are now officially associated with the Center for Land-Based Learning. And, you know, I think that Francisco would be ecstatic to receive an email or, you know, some sort of message from you, say, hey, you know, I remember I was in your class, or I saw you on YouTube in this video, and, you know, I want to know more about your story, or I want to know about, you know, what you do, or, you know, I have an interest in this. Do you know anybody that you can refer that's in this, that you can help me out with this? You know, just given your experience and background in this program gives you that outlet. It gives you that gateway. So, you know, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Francisco directly, you know, say just simple, something like that. And, you know, it's one of those things that if you just reach out, there's a ton of people that are out there that are willing to help and want to help. You know, that's what a lot of us are here for. Now, if
I'd love to take a question though.
All right. I think, did I just see Irene, your hand?
Do any of the students have questions? I can go after.
Let's see. Yana, Edgar, Owen, Emily. Yes, there we go.
What was the most challenging thing you faced?
Oh, okay, I have a good one. The most challenging thing I faced was when, you know, this was part of people criticizing me for positions that I've taken and people who I've worked for, right? When I worked for Newsom in San Francisco, I was working for, at that time, in San Francisco standards, right, a progressive Democrat, or even in San Francisco, he was a conservative. Now he's like progressive. But, and then, you know, as a Latino working for the Newsom administration, it was fine, right? But then when it got really tricky was when I went from Newsom to a Republican governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? During that time, it was like, when I went to my interview, for example, one of the questions that was asked for me was, so, you will be the spokesperson for the governor in the Latino community. And if the governor wanted to support building a wall at the border, how would you feel about defending that position on TV? And I was like, whoa, I was like, as a Latino, that's not something that I personally necessarily agree with. And I said, when you work for someone, you represent their values and their views, not necessarily your own. And I kind of meant that. I didn't mean that. And the reason I decided to take that job was because I knew that it was one of the few opportunities where I got to work for the governor for one of the largest states in the country, and help kind of build my own professional development. But also saw, many in the Latino community in San Francisco criticized me for taking a job with a Republican governor because they thought that I was a traitor and I was going from a Democrat to a Republican, even though I'm a registered Democrat, right? And so, but during that time, the way I put it was, don't put down people in your community who are trying to come up and be ambassadors to be able to represent the Latino community within the governor's office. So there was nobody in the governor's office at that time that spoke Spanish fluently, that spoke directly to the Latino community. So I saw it as an opportunity to convey whatever the governor was doing to the Latino community across the state of California and across the country, because I was the only Latino spokesperson during that time. So that was one of the biggest challenging parts of my own career development, was going from a Democratic mayor at that time to a Republican governor.
Excellent. Hey, so I think, you touched on something really important there. The fact that, you're talking about a Republican conservative politician whom is married to, I think Maria Shriver, if I'm not mistaken, is a Democrat. And yet, I think that one of the important pieces is that access, right? Like, I think that given that your position and your access to him, instead of, creating this sort of barrier between, just furthering division, furthering partisanship, you having your sort of progressive, more, your progressive or egalitarian voice in his ear instead of, having someone else there, I think probably helped your cause and ultimately Democrats, because, instead of just someone whom is just a shill, you brought your own thoughts to the table and, could say, hey, from my perspective as Latino,
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me?
As a Democrat, I think that this may or may not be good for you and for us. And, you provide your insight as a result because you have that access. Okay. Is there any more questions? Students, questions, please. Michelle, Jenna, Jada, Emily, Edgar, Rihanna already asked something. Owen. Okay. That's what I got. Could I get a teacher or my development? There it is.
Yeah. Well, I just want to echo what Francisco said about doing your strengths. I put in the chat a couple of Strengths Finder links. The different tests, they often overlap because they're talking about your strengths, and they both give you your top 5. I found them both very helpful. And also just to echo what Francisco said about like identifying an arena like communications. I've been doing the communications on the nonprofit side. And then when you approach a new content, you can bring that arena or that skill set to that content. And you can learn transportation. I'm learning agriculture, right? There's the content you can pick up based on the work culture that you're in, but the ability to think critically and connect and act with compassion and those kinds of things are skills that you're going to be able to bring with you if you've developed them over time, so I definitely echo all of that. Thank you, Francisco.
Yeah, no problem. Just one point too, I think to that point, when I got the job in public affairs, because I did government affairs, which dealt with policy, that wasn't my strong suit. That wasn't my strong point. My strong point was communications and politics, because that's my background, local and state government. And so my boss told me at the time, he said, you can teach somebody the policy of how to actually understand the transportation policy, for example, but it's harder to teach somebody the politics of how things work, right?
Right.
And so understanding the politics of how things work at the local and state government will benefit the company because of my experience and exposure to that policy. And the policy, it would take me a couple years to learn, but thank God I have a contract lobbyist that's helping me with that. So
Right.
it definitely helps for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also just wanted to mention to the group, Francisco and I have been talking a little bit about this community outreach and their support at Union Pacific for local nonprofits. And we're just really grateful. They gave $22,000 toward the farms program this year. So it's part of what helps make these farms field days possible this year, is that support that we receive directly from Francisco's program. So thank you so much.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, our pleasure, and we love the work that you guys do. If you guys go into agriculture, great. If you don't go into agriculture, the skill set that you'll learn there is going to be just as helpful, and for you as you kind of continue your path and find that path forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think that's a good place to end this leadership lesson. I want to thank you, Francisco, again for coming on with all my students and a teacher here. Thank you so much today. Everyone, if you want to just say thank you and, go ahead and reconnect with Francisco, via LinkedIn, and I'm sure he would be more than happy to help you in any of your given pursuits. Like I said, associations, contacts, networking, all about that. So, yeah, Francisco, if you'd like to stick around, that's just fine. If you need to take off, it'll be fine too. Everyone go ahead and wish Francisco thank you, and happy weekend, I suppose.
Thank you all. Thank you. Have a good time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Excellent. All right. That's awesome. So we're just going to lead right into our field day with Sierra Pacific Industries. And today we have Mark Luster with us, whom has a comparable position, I believe, with Sierra Pacific. If you want to go ahead and, let's see, is this it? Full screen. Share with us your role at Sierra Pacific. Oh, I don't think actually Mark was here for this, for all the introductions. So students, if we can go ahead and go around again and go ahead and introduce ourselves to Mr. Lester. Let's go ahead and go for it. Sorry, Michelle, I'm picking on you again this Friday, but you did such a good job. Let's go ahead and go after it. Name, grade, high school, and post-COVID plans, or something you're looking forward to, even if you haven't made plans to do it yet.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm a senior at Health Careers Academy High School in Stockton, California. And what were the other questions?
What is something, do you already have plans something to do after COVID? Like now we're starting to, some of us are still in the purple tier, but, are there things you're looking forward to doing once we, things are safer? Do you already have plans to do them, or are there things that you want to do?
Something I look forward to after COVID is over is going to volunteer at hospitals.
Hospitals, perfect. That's right. So Health Careers Academy, looking to do that. Terrific. Thank you so much. Go ahead and pick somebody.
Jenna.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm a junior at Historic Durham Ferry, and something I look forward to after COVID is going to the movie theaters.
Right. Who's next?
Edgar.
Hello, my name is Edgar. I'm a junior at Grant Union High School, and I'm looking forward to go, watch movies in the theater as well.
Thank you, Edgar. Who's next?
I guess Owen.
Owen, where are you, sir?
So I'm a sophomore at Historic Durham Ferry. My post-COVID plans, I know we're going to like travel and go camping around this summer and then just kind of expand on that. We're going to be moving, but just kind of getting out and seeing stuff eventually when it happens.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Owen. So I think the only choices are Jada and Rihanna.
You do, Rihanna.
Hello, my name's Rihanna. I'm a junior in Luther Burbank High School. My post-COVID plans are to just hang out with friends.
Here we go. I'm missing that one for sure. All right. I believe it's Jada.
Hello, I'm Jada. I go to Historic Durham Theory. I'm a junior in my post-COVID plans. I also want to go to the movie theaters.
Terrific. Okay, thank you so much. You know what, Irene, did we get to you in this round? No, not yet.
Hi, Mark. My name's Irene. I'm the Senior Development Officer with Center for Land-Based Learning here in Woodland. I've been here a couple of months. Let's see, post-COVID, I also want to go to the movies and to travel.
Excellent. Do you still have Michael on, or is Michael taking off? No, he's gone. Okay, so excellent. I think we're gonna go ahead and commence it there. I'm Joseph Montoya, Forms Leadership Coordinator for the Sacramento Valley and San Joaquin region. I'm looking forward to visiting Central America. My mother-in-law is from there, and it's beautiful down there. It's hot, but like, I don't know, the colors and just like the environment and the air is awesome because like it's jungle down there. So I love it. So that's something that I'm hoping to look forward to at the end of the year. Also, it's basically like the climate down there is basically summer year round. It's either super humid down there and hot, or it's super dry down there and also even hotter. So that's something that I'm looking forward to with my wife and my daughter. That said, I want to introduce Mark Luster, who is the senior community relations manager.
Got it. Yeah.
Was that it? Or
yeah, you pulled it out. Yep.
For Sierra Pacific Industries. And I know we got started, oh my gosh, like half an hour late. So I want to thank you so much for your patience. And thank you for joining us. If you want to tell us a little bit about your background past, Sierra Pacific Industries and your role there, let's get started.
Okay, good. We'll jump right into it. And thanks everybody for introductions. Again, I'm Mark Luster, Community Relations Manager for Sierra Pacific Industries. As I was listening to the other speakers prior to me, I certainly recognize and appreciate the value that is the opportunity for you young folks to have speakers to come to you like this. There's so much wisdom that you can actually glean from that, because typically the paths are going to be similar and the formula for success is often very similar. So hearing from others and how folks have done it historically certainly gives you some guidance on how you can do it in the future and how you can set your goals and set your dreams to the achievement that you want to the heights that you want to reach. As I listen to Francisco speak, and of course I have my kind of pre-planned what I was going to say, and quite often when I do that, I never say what I'm going to plan to do, and I always just kind of go off to my own little tangent here, and so that's where we're headed right now. So what Francisco was saying was just really fascinating to listen to, because it really is that formula for success, and it really is probably the most important thing I think you can learn from this presentation. So it doesn't really matter whether you work for Union Pacific, or you work for Sierra Pacific Industries, or you work for Apple, or you work for Walmart or Target, or Joe's Construction Company. a lot of the traits of success are repeatable, and they are things that you all can figure out how to do. Um, in Francisco's story, it reminded me of how I grew up, because I grew up in a small community in Forest Hill, which was population 1,000. We grew up very poor, and I have to, the family structure, there were a lot of people along the way that really helped me and motivated me. I had jobs in the summertime, et cetera, and I had managers and supervisors that said, hey, you can do this. So sometimes there's that one person that says something to you that really kind of gives you that clue that, hey, you know what, I can do this. They kind of plant that seed. And there's a couple names I look back on today and think about those comments, those one-time conversations that I have with people that really became the catalyst to get me here, today. And so growing up, my father worked in the sawmill industry. And of course, we didn't make a whole lot of money back then. I think the wages were around $4 an hour or something like that. And so that's not a whole lot. Even in today's terms of money, it's still not a whole lot. But we got a lot of love, and you figured out everybody's a family. And so as I grew up, I thought about the things that I wanted to do. And the structure of having to be able to learn how to be committed, to be able to work hard, to be able to think about showing up on time, to be responsible, to being reliable. Those are all things that actually enable me to do what I do today. And I think, as Francisco alluded to, there are lots of people along the way. There are people who tell you what you can do, and there are people who will tell you what you can't do. I have made a commitment for a lifetime of not listening to the people who tell me what I can't do. In fact, when those people tell me what I can't do, that just becomes more motivation for me to go ahead and do it, because it's not for them, but it's for me. And that's what that formula is for success. And I think if you glean anything out of this presentation and what Francisco said, I think that clearly is probably some of the most important words that you'll ever hear, is what you can do, and not listen to folks who tell you what you can't do. I was at my class reunion, it's been about 4 years ago. And my class reunion was from a long time ago. You were kind of laughing about you guys being born less than 20 years ago. I'm not even gonna tell you what my class reunion was. But I was at my class reunion, and a friend of mine had a little get together afterwards at his house. And we were kind of looking around. There's probably 100 of our friends from our high school that were there. And we kind of laughed at each other. And I said, if you look around the room and you think about the people in high school that were destined to be successful, that's not always the case. And it's those people who are just kind of there along that, and said, you would have never picked out of the classroom, you'd never picked you and me, we're talking to our friend, to be successful in this class. And I said, we've actually done pretty good. And so we kind of smiled and we kind of laughed at each other and, continued on. But I think about that story quite often. And I share that story because you have a chance, an opportunity to create your success. You're in perfect position today to make that determination. And as I say again, to create your success. Your choices that you make today will create success for tomorrow. So the quality of the choices you make today are going to improve the quality of your life in the future. And so from Forest Hill, I went to school in San Diego, business majored, moved back to Northern California, became a supervisor for at the time it was Bohemia Incorporated. I worked as a superintendent, I worked in quality control, I worked in human resources. Then over the past years, I've been working as the last 20 years, just about now, the community relations manager for Sierra Pacific Industries. And what that entails is almost an exact replica of what Francisco was saying. I work with the media, so I'm the media spokesperson. So when he talks about a train derailment, we have our own derailments in the lumber industry. It could be an issue where there's a forest fire that starts, or a typical type of a logging operation that somebody has to complain about. And so I'm the spokesperson. I will talk to the media. It could be TV, it could be print, it could be radio. And nowadays, of course, it's social media. So it just depends on what type of media that we're speaking to regarding a certain situation, being able to represent our company. Sierra Pacific Industries, we are the second largest private landowner in North America. So if you think about a large private landowner in North America, and back to the original story, this little kid from Forest Hill, California, that grew up in the forest, would never have dreamed of working and kind of being a representative for such a large company. So again, being able to create that success. And so I also work with local organizations from chambers of commerce, business associations, in representing our company in the community. And then I work in a 9-county region. So I work from Lake Tahoe all the way down to Yosemite. And in those 9 counties that I work in, I work with elected officials from congressmen to senators to assemblymen. I work with county representatives, county supervisors, and city councilmen. So it's those folks who make political decisions about how the country, how the county, how the communities are ran. And that's the folks that I work with to hopefully work with them to give them information about different types of laws and rules. We call that legislation, and how that legislation takes place, how it's passed, and hopefully it's done in such a way that they have the best information possible from all sides, that they make the best decisions for the communities that they serve, whether it's the county, the city, the state, or the country. And so that gives you kind of a quick overview of Sierra Pacific and what we do. So Joseph, where would you like to go from here?
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think, you know what, we can get into it. We have a little bit about your background now. We've heard a little bit about some stats from Sierra Pacific, what they do, what they're involved in. Now let's see, you know, at not a, I don't know if the term is granular, but, you know, maybe just more of an in-person level, and seeing, you know, what Sierra Pacific does and some of the jobs offered at Sierra Pacific.
Okay, so you can run the video now. Is that what you're going to do?
Let's go.
Or do you want me to? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so in the video, I'll give you kind of a brief what you can see in the video. We took some shots of some folks who actually work in operations. We have over 5,000 employees. There's a number of different jobs that we have. So these individuals are telling us and sharing a little bit with us about their story. We have everything from folks who have a 4-year degree, maybe a wildlife biologist. We have folks that work on our plant to do cutting, welding. We have females and males both who do different types of jobs within a company. And so when you watch this video, kind of take it through that lens and just see that this is just a fraction of what we do in the big picture.
Excellent. Yeah, perfect intro. Thank you so much. Let's go.
Hi, welcome to Sierra Pacific Industries. We're a family-owned company and have been a leader in the lumber manufacturing industry for over 70 years. We'd like to take you around our facility here in Lincoln, California, to show you a little bit of what we do and some of the jobs that are involved. We employ over 5,000 people in 19 counties in California and in
No
Washington.
video yet, Joseph.
Hi, I'm Ben Merrill.
I'm sorry, one more time.
We don't have the video on our screens.
Wow, I could have sworn we were on screen share. Okay. Thank you so much for telling me before we got too into it.
I love Zoom. I'm glad this is you, not me.
Yeah. All right, cool. Okay. Don't see the video. Thank you. All right, cool.
There you go. You might want, there you go, reboot.
Hi, welcome to Sierra Pacific Industries. We're a family-owned company and have been a leader in the lumber manufacturing industry for over 70 years. We'd like to take you around our facility here in Lincoln, California, to show you a little bit of what we do and some of the jobs that are involved. We employ over 5,000 people in 19 counties in California and in Washington State.
Hi, I'm Ben Merrill. I work at Sierra Pacific Industries as an electrician over here at the cogen. I started off in Arizona going to school to be a lineman to work on the power lines. This was the route I wanted to go. I had the choice of being an industrial electrician, which is my title over here. I thought I wanted to go the route of being a line worker until I realized being away from home wasn't an option because I had a daughter at home and I was on the road a lot with the job I had. I ended up moving here to California with my wife and my daughter and got a job here at Sierra Pacific I knew they had electricians here, and I wanted to get in the industrial side of things, where I knew I was going to be home at night with good pay and good benefits. I started off here as a laborer and got moved to the production side. I worked my way through getting bid jobs there, and I filled in as a laborer for a while. And when people were gone, I would learn the machine, fill in, and finally got bid jobs and worked my way up through. I was a chipper operator and a sorter chaser, and then I finally got the job I wanted as an edger operator. But I was still wanting to get in the electrical side because that's what I came over here for. Well, finally an opportunity came, and they took me on as a trainee, and I was able to learn and work my way into do a night shift. So I had the night shift schedule, plenty of hours, and good pay, and eventually position opened up here at the Cogen, and I came over here to work and very happy over here. My day-to-day typically is come in and just plan out my day, check emails, get back to people with scheduling, and kind of keep the ball rolling on stuff like that. And then carry out my daily activities, which a lot of it is maintenance and staying ahead of things, seeing problems before they arise, and making sure that you're ready and on top of it. So instead of always fixing problems, current problems that happen, like at the sawmill, things break, you have to fix it now. Over here, you prepare so things don't break. So I like that aspect of it a lot because I like to prepare for things and stay on top of things. So as long as that gets carried out every day, it works out really well, and it makes everything smooth for everybody over here. I also get to do a lot more on the PLC side, the programmable logic control. So I get to do a lot more of that, which I enjoy that side of it a lot. I was able to do it more at the sawmill, but here I have way more freedom to do that, and I also have help from people too, so I'm constantly learning. And yeah, I really enjoy that side of controls and logic. And part of my job, I think, is it's always something new every day. Every day there's something that could come up, you don't know, this or that could break or come down, and then I'm out doing stuff, you know, I'm working out in the field. I'm not just stuck sitting or standing somewhere. I like the variety of the job and the different aspects of it that come.
What are your goals? Do you plan to go to college, or do you want to start your career right away? If your plan is to go to college, you could put your degree to work with us as a forester, a biologist, an accountant. If you want to start your career right away, you could come to work for us starting out on one of our entry-level crews. We love to promote from within, and when you're ready, you can advance into any one of our production jobs, like operating one of our lumber manufacturing machines, driving a loader or forklift, or grading lumber.
Hi, I'm Taryn Navone. I'm a millwright 3 here at Sierra Pacific Industries in Anderson in the sawmill, and I'm the portal crane millwright. Growing up Cottonwood, California, and I went to West Valley High School down there in Cottonwood, and I took an interest in agriculture right out the gate. When I got into high school, I saw the ag science classes, and little did I know that Sierra Pacific was helping out in that department. And through huge grants, they put up this massive greenhouse, all state-of-the-art, high-tech, and I just looked at that as a freshman and thought, this is incredible. And that was kind of like my very first step into working with Sierra Pacific. We had botanists coming out every week and teaching us conifers, transplanting conifers, things I didn't know anything about, and sustainability that they achieved through the full cycle of planting through harvesting, utilizing the whole tree, and looking forward to future generations. I really figured this is the direction that I need to head in. So I did, and I ended up right out of high school. I got a seasonal position with Sierra Pacific Industries as a botanist assistant, working summers, making really good money to go up in the woods all throughout the whole North State, and work with graduates from Berkeley and Davis and learn everything there is to know about botany. I even had professors that I got to work with and learn from. And I really enjoyed my work there. I met a lot of really cool people and learned so much. And that kind of segued for me to come into the sawmill. And since I'm a second generation sawmill worker, that was kind of my little kick to kind of come towards the sawmill. I started out as a laborer, young age, making great money. I was humble. I wanted to work, and I wanted to move up in the company, just like my father did. So that's what I set my mind to it, and now all of a sudden I moved into a welder spot, where that opened up everything in maintenance to me. And I didn't have too much of a maintenance background, but I spent the time I learned. I listened to everybody here on a daily basis, working in a wide variation of tools and instruments and gigantic machines that we have here in the sawmill, and learned everything I could about them. And now all of a sudden I'm a millwright 3. I have a family. Sierra Pacific is helping me take care of my family, as they took care of me when I was a little kid, just from my dad working here. He spent his whole life here, and like asked him time and time again, he always answers, I would have never done anything differently except for getting you into Sierra Pacific earlier. So that's the only holdback that he has in his life. And so I really enjoy everything here. I think it's I don't think there's any other place around in the North State that offers the opportunities to young people that Sierra Pacific does. That should be a huge attraction to vast amounts of incoming people in here, is the opportunities that they give, the amount of learning that you can achieve here. It's vast. It's vast. I hope to spend my next 30 years here. I have no problem with spending my whole life here, retiring, and going out just like my dad did with a bang. 42 years for him. I hope to get 43 or more. Yeah, that's all I've got pretty much.
And what's a normal day, work day look like for you? What are you doing?
A normal work day can be anything from just business as usual, to where it's just routine maintenance on simple machines, to where it can be the biggest explosion of, we have totally inaccessible instruments that we can't get to, that we've never, had issues with in years, and it takes a crew of 10 men to get into this certain area, or installing like our new hog system and our new vibratory conveyor and our new incline chain. I had never seen anything like that done, and the heavy equipment that's used, the huge cranes, the millions of dollars worth of equipment that gets installed in little to no time, because we have a good crew of guys. We all enjoy working together, and we're all on pace. Sierra Pacific sets you up to be on pace with, installs and just which step comes next. So you're never really just left hanging in the dark when you're working here in general. There's always somebody there to pace you at, okay, here we finished step 2, here's step 3, and so on and so on. So it could be like I said, it could be anything from something small to something huge, and that's kind of a good part to working here. It's not the same routine every day. It's always something new.
Hi, my name's Tanner Estes. I am a millwright supervisor at the Anderson Sawmill. I started my career with Sierra Pacific through an internship program in 2010. I spent 4 years doing the internship program between Anderson and Quincy. And then after graduation, I went to work in Quincy for a few years as a safety environmental coordinator. transferred down to Anderson a couple years after that. Went to planer as a planer supervisor, and then just recently transferred over to the maintenance division. So. Come into the work. Hopefully the sawmill's running. That's always a good start to the day. Get with all my millwrights and electricians, see how they're doing, see what kind of projects they have in the works. Try to get things lined out, scheduled for the day, keep the mill running, plan any preventative maintenance, cogen shutdowns, etc.
For somebody that wanted to get a job with the mill, what would you say that's what would be advice for high school kids wanting to go into?
Okay, yeah, I mean, if you really want to pursue something industrial mechanics, I would start learning all you can through your programs at school, whether it be metal shop, wood shop, anything electrical. Pursue something at the college, whether it's a trade school, to learn those special skills needed to come work in the maintenance department. Other than that, you can always start as a laborer with Sierra Pacific and learn as you go and try to work your way into one of those jobs.
My name is John Elliott. I'm the supervisor of the Optimizer group here at Sierra Pacific in Anderson, California. And I have a pretty cool job. So what I do is I'm a programmer. I'm also a physicist. And I went to school formally, was educated, did a decade of university for that, and came here and get to apply that knowledge and those skills into an emerging industry in terms of technology here at Sierra Pacific. So what we get to do here is we get to turn code into reality, and we get to decide how we go from a log like this to a board like you see at maybe a Home Depot or sitting in your house, 2x4 or a 2x6. And the way that we do that is by intelligently programming very large machines, many hundreds of horsepower, moving very fast through these mills. We program these machines to make the most optimal cuts possible to get us the best lumber possible in an automated fashion. That's a pretty cool job. Most of the time we do spend that behind desks, but we also get to sometimes go out into the mills and of course check on how these pieces of equipment that we're operating are actually performing out in the field. So for me, supervising a group of people, I'm constantly doing that. I've got a half a dozen people that are writing this code, and I will go out into the field and check and make sure that that code is performing as it should. I will troubleshoot problems that exist when it doesn't. And then other opportunities that exist are for me to go out to the field and say, what can we do to better improve this process? That's where my physics background and computer science background will come into play, and I'll get to take those historical pieces of information and apply them to new problems that we see out in the mill. That's kind of all I got.
Sorry. Yeah. Maybe just lamely explain.
Oh yeah.
Like how the lasers and
Yeah. Oh no, this is not industry. This is a piece of equipment we buy.
just kind of share it.
Yeah. So what we have here is we have a geometrical scanner. This scanner uses lasers in order to get a 3D profile of this log. This is a mock-up right here. Normally the log would be traveling through this tunnel. As it travels through the tunnel, these lasers here will measure how the volume of the log as it travels through. That volumetric measurement we will then use to make a prediction about the most optimal way to turn this into boards. We'll do all that in code. We'll take that code and then we'll send that off to what's called a programmable logic controller, and it will move machines in real time and with saws and other pieces of equipment to cut away this wood, and it will do that job. It will cut the boards out for us. My group particularly, we focus on doing that as well as we can. We try to optimize that process of deciding what boards to be cut as best we can. This is a cool piece of equipment here because it involves a lot of physics. My background being in physics, I really enjoy this one. I'm an optical physicist, and the idea of using a laser and a camera to generate a height profile was something that was always fun and exciting to me. It's actually something, we buy some of this equipment. We also build and design some of this equipment here in Sierra Pacific in this group. And that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be able to do that. It's especially coming from a science and computer science background as well. We get to actually construct this hardware and then go out and program it and use it. Very cool. What you can see here is you can see one of our secondary breakdown, or as we call it, gang saw optimizers running. This optimizer is taking a very similar log to what you just saw outside, and it's optimizing what boards to cut out of it. As you can see, it runs very quickly. It needs to run very quickly. We have a half a second or less to solve these problems, and then we need to send that information over to about 100,000 pounds of machinery that needs to start moving pretty quickly while this can is flying down the line at this log. So the scan happens, we get a profile of the log, we then hand that over to an optimizer like this. This optimizer will then look at the board. Here's an end view of that board with the top and bottom cut off of it. And it'll try to decide the most efficient way to cut that board up given the constraints of the system. It will pick a winner. It will decide who is the best solution for that. It will then take that and send that over an Ethernet line over to a PLC. That PLC, which is a programmable logic controller, will then move the tooling that we need for that. And again, it's all going to happen really fast. So we focus on that quite a bit here. So our in-office time is often spent optimizing the process in which we find those solutions. Occasionally, though, we'll run out to a mill and something doesn't work quite right. We'll have to figure out, we kind of have to be network specialists and machinery specialists, and we have to wear a lot of different hats at different times. We might have to figure out that it's a hydraulic system that's failing us and it has nothing to do with the code that we wrote. We also might need to understand what interference and networking signals that looks like and how network switches work. Or maybe just need to look at lumber quality, which is something that's orthogonal to the performance programming that we're doing here. So there's a lot of stuff that we get to do. We wear a lot of different hats depending on what we're doing that day.
Okay, so something, I have some questions actually, Mark. We've definitely explored at least, 3, sort of positions there, got some background on jobs that are available there.
Yes.
Could you speak to any more available there? And you know what, this frame here actually reminds me of something, but if you can share anything more.
Yeah. So that was just a small segment of the types of jobs that are available in the industry. So when the forest products industry and you think about logging and sawmills, et cetera, most people have a fairly limited knowledge of it. So from the person who gets out of high school who wants to come to work is very similar again to UP and similar to other positions. And then if you come right out of high school, you can get hired on as a laborer. And from that position, you can go into an equipment operator. You could run a machine that cuts logs, a machine that bands wood. You could run a machine that cuts different types of boards into different types of products. And so there's a variety of anywhere between 10 to 12 different types of machines inside a sawmill operation that you could operate. Those operators get paid anywhere between $16 to $22 an hour for those type of positions. And that's entry level. And many of the entry level folks who come in will go to a machine center. They'll get a raise in pay, and then from there, a lot of those folks we have as managers and supervisors, that's where they start at. They came in as labor. So there's that path straight out of high school that you can go to. But I always recommend that education is always a good foundation to have no matter where you go. When you look at some of the things you do, I know for myself personally, all those English classes and math classes, that stuff I would never use. You always kind of joke about school, never use this. Well, quite often you do use it, even in simple things. A lot of being in communication, such as I am, a lot of my communication is through email and text. And if you send somebody an email, there's an expectation that there will be grammar, there'll be punctuation, and all those things we don't really worry about so much in school. It become very important, because what will happen there is that you will be judged on how you write, whether we think we are or not. If you're leaving all these different types of punctuation out, or you're misspelling words, and you present that to somebody, that's their assessment. That's their judgment of you. You know, like it or not, that's just the reality of the professional world. So we have to be very conscientious of that when we put something out in there. And even in text nowadays, and I know that texting is pretty big, and we all do a ton of it. And I mean, maybe one of the worst things we can do is we do our voice text and not take a look at it afterwards, because I know myself, I've actually got caught sending some text to people, and I read it afterwards. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. And so then you're calling, doing some backpedaling, trying to apologize for what you just didn't say, but you did say. And so that's important to recognize that that can happen to you. So those skill sets that we have in the different positions are important to recognize that you will use that education. And then if you go to a college type degree, you can become a professional forester. And what a professional forester does, they will do harvest plans. They'll determine what trees get harvested, how they get harvested, when you plant them back. They'll look at water quality, fish quality, all the different types of wildlife. They'll look at soil, archaeologists, and all the different assets you have in our environment. They look at that and they plan around that, just to make sure that we are not disrupting that, and that we continue to maintain a sustainable state in our environment. And that's what a professional forester does. And we have biologists. I think that's kind of self-explanatory, but a biologist will work with plant. It could be a plant biologist. It could be a wildlife biologist. They'll work with Pacific fishers and owls and red-tailed hawks and marmots and frogs and everything you can imagine would appear in the forest, even down to spiders. These biologists will look at those different types of critters just to make sure that we're not disrupting and we're returning and keeping that environment in a sustainable state. We have PhD scientists on board as well. And then you can see inside the sawmill, there's a lot of computers. We rely heavily on the computer systems. So everything from a programmable controller, we need folks who can program these. We need folks who can maintain these. And we need folks who actually can build these. So everything from the high-tech computer programmer down to the folks coming in and maybe doing cleanup initially out of the box. And folks who can cut and weld and do maintenance. And we have accountants, we have shipping clerks, we have drivers who drive log trucks. We make windows and we make doors. And so they could work on a window or a door plant to make windows or door. We make hardwood flooring, so it could be a flooring plant. We also make electricity. So we take the sawdust and bark, which used to be kind of a waste product. We turn that into what we call a value-added product. We heat water, make steam, turn a generator with that. That's how we make electricity. So it could be an individual inside the plant running that cogeneration power plant, and we train most of those folks in-house. It could be somebody driving a loader outside the power plant, pushing the sawdust into a chainway that goes into the plant to get burned. And so each job has a series of jobs that go along with that job. So you can see there's a wide array of different things you can do coming into a company like Sierra Pacific, from basic labor coming in to a PhD scientist and all the jobs that kind of fit in between that. And one of the key things is to get where you want to go. It takes focus and it takes effort. And some folks say that's hard work, but I think that's just putting in the type of energy you need to be successful. That's how you're going to be successful. What you put into it is what you will get out of it.
Right. So I think, we definitely explored a lot of the, sort of blue collar sort of jobs and careers available at Sierra Pacific. And I'm really glad, that Mark, you were able to add a bit more of, what else is there? Clearly you're not wearing a hard hat and gloves. I think your father might have, and, I think perhaps you might have at one time. But have moved into something else and, found your stride and there's clearly a lot more that Sierra Pacific has to offer. And here's the thing, we got an introduction, we saw a few interviews with some of the professionals there. And as I was mentioning previously on the slide, let me see if I can share it again. Let's see, what's the PowerPoint? Right here.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. Can anybody tell me a little bit of the difference between that frame right there and the rest of the presentation, the rest of the video? Any students? I think I have a hand up from Owen.
That one was more of like behind a computer screen at a desk job, where everything else was more like in the warehouse.
Yes, that's definitely an important piece. The part that I wanted to mention is, just a little bit of what we're in right now. So we are actually in a group, and as a matter of fact, the males are the minority in this group. There's actually more females in this group, and that's something that wasn't shown in the video. We bunch of guys, like you have the guy with the button up, and he works as an engineer. With computers and, physics, et cetera. And then, a bunch of other guys with hard hats and gloves and et cetera. But I didn't see, so many females represented. What is your experience? What roles have you seen women hold at Sierra Pacific?
That's a great question, Joseph. And I'd like to engage maybe the students here a little bit with this question. And I'm going to pick on Michelle to begin with here. And so, since you got to go first last time. And so, Michelle, when you see a video like this and somebody comes to your classroom and they make a presentation, and be honest with me, because I can handle the truth. But when somebody gives you a presentation like this, and you see only males in that video, what do you think? Because you can help us do a better job. I saw this video, quite frankly, the first time this morning, and I noticed that too. So what do you think when you see that?
So what I think when I see that, I feel like this presentation or company, when they give us the presentation, I feel like they don't believe or think that females can like come to their standards with this type of jobs or whatever they're presenting. Like, I feel like left out, like they don't believe in us.
That's really good feedback. Jade, I'm gonna pick on you now. What do you think?
To me, it doesn't really matter if a woman or a man isn't like, or a woman isn't on the video. It's like they can just as well do the job, even if they're not on the video. The person who's working there that got interviewed, they can't help that they're not a woman. And to me, I don't really care.
Okay, this is good feedback because we'll get all sorts of things, and that helps us do a better job. I'm gonna pick on one more. How about you, Jenna?
For me, I didn't notice that there wasn't a female until Joseph brought it up. But it doesn't matter to me either. I think that just looking at the jobs, I know if I want to pursue that job, I can. But it would be nice to see other females as well.
Awesome. And I agree with all three of you. I think it would certainly, we can do a better job by showing more females in those videos. And also, I think the message is that you guys have just stated, which is a good lesson for us as well, is that you can do any job, and that there's a possibility out there that do not, whatever video you see, whatever presentation you see, now let everybody tell you again what you can't do. It's for you to tell folks what you can do and to show folks that you can do it. So I think that's quite impressive. And I really appreciate your feedback there. Yeah, so within our company, we do have a fairly significant female workforce in our industry. Certainly there are many, many more males in the industry than we have females. it is kind of indicative of who comes in and actually applies for the jobs, that we'll see either females or male that are involved in agriculture or the industry. Historically in the industry, quite frankly, it has been kind of a male-dominated industry, and we are seeing over the last 2 decades probably in this industry a kind of a change and sort of a shift, and we are seeing much more diversity when it comes to people of color, and also with folks who are that are female as well. And so some of those barriers have been down, and as a company, we look to who can do the job. So it doesn't matter your background or if you're female or male, if you can do the job, you get hired. And that's the way it should be. So.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you so much. Yeah, just that piece. And, I think that is something that many industries, many companies, private companies are looking to expand. They're realizing that they've been missing out on potential for many years. And also, straightforward, it's good PR, to hold more women and more people of color in every job, every industry, because, given the United States, diversity is our strength. More of us together, bringing all of our different perspectives and experiences, and just different thoughts, ideas is what grows, and that individuality, that sort of American individual sort of just that whole aspect of our culture is something that's really important and our greatest strength. And so yeah, I just had to mention that. I'm sorry, Mark, had to focus on that real quick.
That was good. That's good focus. And I think, excuse me for a second, you made a good point, I think, that was really clear, is that we also get, the more people you can bring in from different backgrounds, as a company, you get a greater diversity of thought. We don't necessarily do well when you get everybody who thinks alike. I think when things really can grow and things can really change and companies can really prosper is when you have this collective thought, people bringing fresh ideas in from different places. I think that also helps us to create a success scenario.
So thank you. Yes. You know what? I think we're actually already past time.
We are, aren't we?
But if we could get a few more minutes of your time, Mark. If
I'm flexible. It's Friday.
Any questions from students? Any questions from a teacher or a development director, senior development officer, senior development, something?
You got it.
Put you on the spot, didn't he?
Rihanna, you always have all the questions. Please tell me you're still there behind that, the avatar there.
How long did it take you to move up?
That's a really, really good question. It can happen really fast, or it can happen sometimes fairly slowly. My personal experience was that I'd only worked for the company for a few months, and then I went into a supervision role. I did that for a couple of years. I've actually had 5 different careers in the company, and some of the roles was a couple of months, and some of them were a few years. But I continued to move up fairly rapidly. And again, I think that's attributed to commitment and to hard work and focus, and just kind of having that attitude. And even when times get difficult, not giving up. And other folks can typically take, if I just had to throw in kind of an average number out there, it might take somebody in that 2-year range, 1-2-year range, 3-year range before they start seeing a move up from the position they start out with. And then sometimes there are a whole bunch of jobs that come open really early on, and sometimes it happens a bit slower. But there's always opportunity to change jobs and move up for those who desire to go that path.
Yeah, I think that's that definitely shows one of the biggest pieces of Sierra Pacific is you mentioned that Sierra Pacific is the second largest landowner in California. So
North America.
North America.
Yeah, we're pretty big.
And so, what that means is, Mark is coming to us from Lincoln, California right now. Those professionals that we saw just a minute ago were from Anderson, California. And
Yes.
there are plenty more regions and spaces to live in. So here's the thing, right now, all of you are, I believe, coming from the San Joaquin, Sacramento Valley region, this whole like valley area. But California is so huge, and if you're looking for a change of scenery, it's not just the job you're looking after. Like, what kind of lifestyle
Yeah.
surroundings are you looking at? That's what that offers. It's like, okay, so we have Mark right now in Lincoln, we have Anderson, California, and I know that one of my other fellow Farms Leadership Coordinators, Dana Baker of Tehama County. She has there's a whole bunch of Sierra Pacific professionals up there in like Chico or?
Yeah, Tehama County, which is Tehama. We've got Shasta County, Redding, Shasta Lake, Bernie, over on the North Coast, Sterling City. We also have operations in Washington State now. So 3 areas of Washington State, Burlington, Aberdeen, and Centralia.
Right. So, in the same way that, people look at the military and, if it's a great place to travel, but you're locked in for that contract, this is another way to, sort of like step out of your, your current space situation and explore other parts of the state or country, while making money, not necessarily having to have a, solid educational background, but it does help. One thing that is important, as Mark mentioned, is communication. So, your writing skills, your typing skills, just connecting with people, much like Francisco does as well, are super important skills to, maintain in any given job. Any given job, any given job. So I just wanted to highlight that. With that, is there any more questions? Jenna, Jada, Michelle, Owen? Nothing. I know it's Friday. It's gorgeous and warm outside. Everyone's like, let us go so we can just like go out and enjoy this beautiful afternoon, almost evening. Let's see. Irene, something from you.
No, I'm just glad for the opportunity to hear what you said, Mark, and it gives me a scope for the work that's done. Yeah, I think, when people are in high school, we're thinking there's a lot of talk about what somebody's going to do. And so I'm really glad you guys are talking about this context of where, because that's also a huge question of, where do you want to be doing the work? And yeah, just underscoring what you're saying, the communications piece, it's all important.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that what and that where is so important. And then to add to that is what kind of life do I want to live? And so you kind of think about that job that you want to plug yourself into. Because when you look at a career, you're going to spend 40 to 50, maybe 60 hours a week doing that job. So you want to do something that you enjoy, something that you love to do. And again, going back to creating that future, you have an opportunity now to create that future. You don't have to take any job. You get a chance to kind of create that today in your path. So you can set the path now to do something that you love to do. The sky's the limit.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much. You know what? I think that's probably a good place to end it. Mark, I want to thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Afternoon, for joining us. Hanging around for the leadership lesson at the beginning of this, and then all the way through. Want to thank Katie Luther, also of Sierra Pacific Industries, who was our director and she filmed it and she produced it and edited it and all that. So thank you, Katie, also for that. And the rest of you students, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a long session, but I don't know, I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I know I enjoyed my time, and I always enjoy doing these things. And I want to wish you a happy weekend. Hope you enjoy your weekend, everybody.
Great. Thank
All
you
right,
so
thanks,
much.
everybody. Appreciate your time too.
Bye.
Bye.